global practices. Ladies and gentlemen, the personality that we have just heard about his own brief citations, he is here with us live and direct. Dear Professor, we really welcome you and we really feel honored for accepting to be with us in this August gathering of ICSESS International Conference. It's my honor and privilege to invite Professor Bala for his own speech.
Thank you. The Vice Chancellor, UTM, ably represented by Professor Dr. Ishamuddin Mohammed, the President of the ICSESS conference, other participants here present, ladies and gentlemen. Are you controlling my presentation from there?
Secretary?
No, I think you can share. You can share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, we can see the screen, sir.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Okay. I want to thank you for inviting me to be the keynote speaker for this event. Considering what we are here today, the topic itself is very important, given the impact that COVID-19 has had, not only on research, but general socioeconomic circumstances within the global community. I want to quickly show the presentation outline. I want to start with the overview and impacts of COVID-19. I will say a few things about the conceptual clarifications, then innovative and multidisciplinary research, especially in the post-COVID era. And I want to finish by just saying a few words about some of the COVID-19 R&D responses experience we've had in the Federal University of Technology, MENA. Just as an overview, we are all aware that the COVID-19 is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and it was first observed in the Wuhan city, Hubei province, China in December 2019. It is important that we are looking at what seemed to be the starting point, December 2019. And I can vividly recall that by the time we started hearing news about some strange viral ailment in China, nobody really took it as a serious thing, because we've had in the past the H1N1 virus, the MERS virus, and I think most people felt that it was just going to be a local affair. Little did we know that it was going to change the world substantially. Within a short time, that virus quickly went around the world. And in Nigeria, I think we first started noticing it sometimes back in March 2020. And since then, the impact on research that was in progress then was very rapid, dramatic, and long-term. And the pandemic curtailed most activities, not only academic activities. Most activities globally were affected. And within a short time, so many countries, including the advanced countries, were virtually brought to a standstill as a result of this virus. There were general lockdowns, restrictions in travel, the healthcare delivery were at some point overstretched, almost breaking down. And for us, especially in the developing world, it was a very testing time, especially in countries that did not have well-developed health delivery systems. And now, 2 years on, as a result of all these disruptions and curtailment and restrictions in movement, we have seen not only the spread of the disease, but destruction to lives generally, especially economic and social disruptions. And in the third world countries, people are increasingly falling into poverty as a result of destruction of economic activities. So it is something that has affected us very, very profoundly and largely in the negative sense, socioeconomic situation, food security, general security, even
as if it went off, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge of the network and this slide is here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting for the professor to rejoin us. Give him some few minutes. Otherwise, let's think of what to do next.
Is there any way you can talk to him directly?
Yeah, the president, can you contact him, please? So that we know the problem.
Yes, he might not know that this thing happened.
Yes, 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 it's possible.
This interesting presentation, we don't want to miss it.
Okay, I think the prof is back, right?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Very well, Prof.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, sorry, that is the new normal we find ourselves. We have to very much use and rely on technology, and sometimes technology fails us, especially where the broadband is quite a challenge. And this is one of the things we have to contend with in terms of issues of R&D. So the question now is, what happens beyond here? When we talk of post-COVID-19 era, is the time that life generally can have a semblance of normalcy. And for 2 years now, we had hoped that normalcy would be restored, but it's increasingly becoming difficult to go back to normalcy. And so we've had to adjust and adapt to a new normal. Some countries are about going into the fourth wave of COVID with all the disruptive effects that it has had on the various countries. So post-COVID-19 era, R&D, what happens? Research funding must be innovative and multidisciplinary for us in the post-COVID-19 era, not only to respond to the post-COVID, to COVID itself, but the other challenges that will come as a result of it and other new diseases that we are likely going to face as we move on. Research and development and innovation are ever more crucial for an effective response to and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in low and middle income countries. We know that in responding to COVID-19, the bulk of the R&D efforts actually came in from the high income countries. And many of the low income countries were at the mercy of the high income countries, especially with respect to the provision and availability of vaccines. But now people are beginning to wake up, to begin to understand that they cannot really rely only on imports from the high income countries, especially when it comes to issues of health delivery. And so scientists from the low income countries are now also beginning to think of the kind of response they will make. R&D response to the pandemic is likely going to focus on repurposing existing approaches, new biomedical and pharmaceutical product developments, and should become more mainstream across sectors as a means of addressing urgencies such as COVID-19 and other emergencies that will come, and as a way of reorienting the development for the future challenges that are waiting for us. And some of the questions that we need to ask and we need to address include how to traverse the uncertainties of effective responses in presence of financial and operational limitations due to lockdown policies, leaving even institutions in high resource settings struggling. How do we manage restriction in mobility, availability, and capacity of researchers globally? And how do we guarantee that the immediate reaction to COVID-19 also accounts for longer-term development ambitions and pre-existing challenges, including the Sustainable Development Goals, climate change, and climate fragility? We need to move beyond single-point R&D interventions to look at processes and paradigms. And this is very important given the fact that sometimes scientists tend to live within the scientific bubble. But it has become obvious to us that it is not enough to produce the technology, but even the adoption of the technology becomes a problem, especially with the respect of the vaccine, for example. One would have thought that common sense should have made everybody to want to take the vaccine, because scientifically we know the vaccine works. We know that for it to work in a country, there must be a herd immunity. And for the herd immunity to be attained, the vast majority of people must have taken the vaccine. But unfortunately, we have seen, even in advanced societies, a lot of pushback, a lot of resistance to the vaccine. We have seen all kinds of, theories about what the vaccine represents. And so it becomes not only a matter of scientific inventions, but there has to be also the social component, the psychological component of use of the R&D product itself. We need to seek to balance R&D for sustainability, focusing on anticipatory innovation and bottom-up adaptive innovation. And so people that are going to be the consumers must be involved right from the beginning, must be properly sensitized and educated so that conspiracy theories will not dampen the rate at which some of these technologies are adapted. And we need to invest in more innovative and multidisciplinary research, especially with local and national actors, and ensuring and sustaining a focus on the poorest and leaving no one behind. So what do we do in terms of the multidisciplinary approach to innovation? Research generally can be defined as a systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. This we know. And we know that in carrying out research, we have to be engaged in systematic investigation through experimentation or study of extensive literature. There must be the establishment of new details and facts about a subject matter and the advancement that subsequently will result in the advancement of knowledge through these new details. Fundamentally, we have the basic and the applied research. The basic research tends to lead to ideas and techniques that are new. New knowledge is created, new research findings and facts, while the applied research utilizes the existing principles and discoveries as coming from the basic research. The ideas and techniques are borrowed, the research findings are based on previous researches. Now, innovation entails application of creative ideas in specific areas of research. Usually, it introduces something new and valuable that can be utilized. Essentially, there are three levels. The first one, the lowest level, is just adoption of established methods and the applied. Then there is the adaptation, where it requires middle level of innovation concept that is changed to meet specific needs of research concepts. And the inception is the highest level of innovation, an idea that is conceived and researchers claim to cover new methods. Now, looking at innovation in multidisciplinary research, the innovative research involves creating new concepts, identifying possible challenges, troubleshooting and determining their causes. Innovative research also encompasses finding for solutions to identified and unidentified problems in the society. Now, the research system needs to be designed in a way that it covers innovation and creativity, looking at the questions. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Okay. So there are essentially three things that we're looking at in terms of innovation. Does it exist? That is, the current technology is there a current technology that solves the same problem we're looking at? Is the problem to be solved worth the resources that we want to spend? And what is the theory, conceptual design, prototype, and publication that is available? Now, what are the challenges that we militate against an innovation? And the questions there will be salient limitations to realizing the solution. Does it really solve the problem, or is it not possible? What are the barriers, such as funding, adoption, policy regulations, and absence of technology? And do we need it? And if we are talking of innovation, do we really need it? Does an existing technology solve the problem, or do we need a new innovation, new technology? And importance to the scientific, educational, and general community, the barriers to adoption and incorporation to existing methods, the market and commercialization potential. So these are some of the questions we need to ask in terms of looking at innovation in moving forward. And innovation requires that we are involved in a multidisciplinary research, because it is becoming increasingly clear that we cannot restrict whatever research endeavors we are going to do to a very narrow area. The world is getting increasingly connected. The challenges are becoming increasingly more complex, and so multidisciplinary approaches are required in whatever we are going to do. And globally, COVID-19 has taught us that irrespective of the type of research we carry out, we need collaboration. Researchers have global impact. To collaborate means our research must transcend to multidisciplinary and multidimensional realm to solve societal problems through the development of effective products and services. I just talked about the resistance to COVID. We saw that within a short term, scientists were able to exchange information, and within a short time, the vaccines were produced. But then beyond that, there were so many other issues that came into being, issues of regulation, issues of ethics, and the issues of adoption. So we are not only talking of just the medical scientists, the biochemists that may be involved in the production of the vaccine, for example, which is a new product, but we are also having to think of the legal framework, the regulatory framework, the social component of it. And so innovation now must assume a multidisciplinary approach for it to be really effective and to be accepted as it is. And now, a research is said to be multidisciplinary when researchers and experts from different backgrounds work together for a common goal within the limits of their own discipline. There is a synergy of various fields of study, cross-pollination, and intercourse of ideas, such that we have the advantages of synergy for common goal, collaborative practice, player goals, objective strategy, player communication, team bonding, and experiential learning. And we see it now happening every day. Here we have quite a number of things. It's amazing the way things are going these days. If you go into issues of food security, for example, agricultural production, today you will see all kinds of products as a result of artificial intelligence, for example, Internet of Things being applied for precision agriculture, for issues of defense, for medical reasons, delivery of drugs, use of robotics in medicine. So in trying to solve societal problems these days, innovation has gone multidisciplinary. And the coming of COVID has really reinforced this principle, this idea that scientists must collaborate across disciplines for us to be able to achieve the objectives. Bringing experts from different disciplines, the solution for today's global challenges is guaranteed. However, COVID-19 not only disrupts normal learning and innovative and multidisciplinary approaches in research, the collaborative skills of multidisciplinary research is challenged by a lack of common knowledge sometimes. So of course, when you are bringing different people with different backgrounds, multidisciplinary, different disciplines, each component comes with its own approaches, with its own ideas. And so there must be that willingness and readiness to learn from others, to be open to others. We cannot afford to want to resist or keep to what we think we are used to. For us to work as a team, we must be ready to open up. We must be ready to embrace new ideas and new knowledge for us to achieve that synergy. And of course, with COVID-19, we have seen prolonged absences from laboratories, delays in ethical approval of research, all kinds of governmental and regulatory permissions are delayed. And so is this still going to be part of the new normal that will continue to have these disruptions? Because 2 years on, it is still possible. We are still seeing it, that so many things are being disrupted. When things are beginning to pick up, then we have another wave, and then there are other disruptions coming in. Some countries having to go back to lockdowns, some other countries having to restrict travel, trying to restrict foreigners coming into their countries or restrict their own citizens going out. And all of these bring about disruption in R&D. R&D requires that people are readily able to move about, mobility, exchange of people moving from one place to the other. And so that multidisciplinary research component is being challenged. And so is it going to be part of the normal? We hope not, but we must begin to also anticipate and begin to prepare ourselves in case we may not have the normal practice that we were used to, where people will just move about everywhere at any time they move. Conferences like this, ideally in the past, and just as Professor Isham Ridian has said, would have been face-to-face. But today, we are restricted. I was just telling somebody that if not for COVID, I would have been in Malaysia presenting this in the morning, not early morning. But so these are some of the things that we have to contend with in the post-COVID-19 era. It doesn't only affect the R&D, but because we are talking of research, we know that research has been substantially affected by some of these disruptions. And so,
please switch off your mic.
Thank you. So post-COVID, is that the new normal? But of course, one of the things that we now have come to accept as a new normal is the online virtual meetings that we have all of us, organizing virtual conferences. We think that even when we go back to the pre-COVID-19 level, online conferencing has come to stay, online teaching has come to stay, and some of us in the developing countries are also beginning to think of what are the other things that we need to do to adapt to both the COVID and post-COVID-19 era. And at the Federal University of Technology, MENA, we have also had our challenges. We have had to stay at home almost close to 1 year. And of course, during this period, we've also had to challenge our scientists as to what to do. And you will see on the screen here what the university did as an immediate response to the COVID threat during that time, where we tasked on people to show us what we call proof of concept for some of the COVID-19 tools. And of course, they were able to deliver. So we wanted to show that we could produce certain things that enable people to respond to the COVID-19 threat. So manual hand washing machine, auto hand washing machine, inhalers, ventilators, face masks, face shields, hand gloves, sanitizers, temperature testing equipment, contact tracing. These are some of the things we challenged our staff to produce, and they were able to deliver. And so even post-COVID, we are able to see that if we focus our minds, if we concentrate our minds, we are able to achieve something. But many of these things that were produced were not produced in silos. Scientists were forced to go across disciplines in trying to generate some of these technologies. For example, if you look at the engineering schools, we are basically producing the hand washing machines, the sanitizer dispensers, and the lights, while the scientists in the life sciences were producing alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Those in the physical sciences were producing nose mask, but they all have to work together for it to be able to work. So at the basic level, this is an illustration of what multidisciplinary collaboration can bring very quickly to bear in terms of responding to challenges. And we believe that moving forward, this is the way to go. And the societies such as our own in low-income countries must collaborate. That South-South collaboration must be encouraged, must be fast-tracked, so as we can also respond to this. And it became very obvious, the fact that we were at the mercy of other countries that were producing vaccines. We could not produce vaccines, and the vaccines that were even promised, it took very long time. Sometimes rich countries were still diverting the vaccines. So we have to wake up and respond to this and see that there is nothing like relying on others. If you really want to achieve security, you must rise up to the challenge. The scientists in your countries must rise up to the challenge. They must work across various disciplines to respond to challenges, existing challenges, and those that will come later. On this note, I want to thank all of you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much with such a wonderful presentation of the keynote address. Our first keynote speaker, Professor Abdullahi Bala, who is the 7th Vice Chancellor of Federal University Technology, MENA. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for taking time at this early morning to share your own wealth of experience. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we'll move forward. And I'm glad that the professor have highlighted a very fundamental issues that has to do with the need for multidisciplinary solutions in terms of innovation of today. He made mention cross-pollination, intercourse of ideas, innovation needs multidisciplinary approach. Ladies and gentlemen, our second keynote speaker or guest speaker is another professor from University Technology Malaysia, precisely from the Faculty of Chemical and Energy Engineering here in JB. Professor Tin Lee, her expertise includes the following: integrated organic waste management system, characterization of organic waste, biological, enzymatic, chemical, physical maturation, and quality control for compost, economic and environmental analysis of organic waste management, community food waste composting, connecting academia, industry, and governments for green transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, she had her own PhD in biochemical engineering, University of Cambridge, UK, from 1999 to 2004. Professor Chin has a Master of Bioprocess Engineering in UTM from 1996 to 1998, and Bachelor of Chemical Engineering with first class honor in 1991 to 1996. Her career milestone includes School of Chemical and Energy Engineering, 2018 October to present. She's professor. From 2008 to 2018, she is associate professor, and 2004 to 2008, she was a senior lecturer. Professor Lee is an associate editor, Journal of Cleaner Production, Elsevier, co-chair International Conference on Low Carbon Asia and Beyond, ICSESS 2015. Director, UTM Summer School, SS14, Accelerating Green Development in Asia 2014. Advisor, UTM Green DNA. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to welcome our second guest speaker of today's 4th International Conference, ICSESS, organized by ICSESS Nigeria. Professor Tin Lee, the mic is for you.
A very good morning to everyone,
Yeah.
and congratulations to ICSESS 2021, and also congratulations to the International Student Society of Nigeria, UTM. Thank you, Abdul Mumini, for your nice introductions. Because lately my internet has experienced some instability. So I think it will be good for the secretary to play this record the YouTube, while I will stay for the Q&A later on if there is any. Thank you so much and congratulations. Is it okay for you to share from your screen through the YouTube video link in the chat box?
We will try
Yes.
for a vote.
All right. Okay, it's okay. Let me share.
Yeah, I think that will be better to avoid any potential line instability here. Yeah, although I have a high-speed broadband, but lately it has been weird. Okay, thank you. ICSESS 2021 for inviting me to deliver this talk. Enabling organic waste conversion to soil enhancer for sustainable agriculture and food productions. This talk is in line with the theme promoting innovative and multidisciplinary research in the new norm. My name is Tin Lee from the School of Chemical and Energy Engineering. Waste management is a complex issue faced by many countries. It requires a paradigm shift when we move into the 21st century. Ideally, the waste sent to the landfill could be minimized, where more viable technologies could be introduced to convert waste to value-added product. Ideally, all landfill sites should be built as a sanitary ones to facilitate the collections of leachate, to facilitate treatments and avoid underground water contamination. However, most of the landfill sites in the developing countries are operated as open dumps where leachate is released to the underground water, causing further pollutions. Typically, sanitary landfill is quite costly in terms of capital costs as well as for the maintenance. According to the World of Waste 2.0 report prepared by World Bank Group, indicating that world waste is expected to rise to 3.4 billion ton by the year 2050 if there's no paradigm shift in terms of the way we treat waste. From the compositions, it shows that up to 44% consists of food waste. As you can see from this pie chart, the global waste treatment methods is still relying largely on landfill, where other technologies such as recycling, incineration, or composting are still at a smaller percentage due to higher costs. Looking at the waste management costs, it is not just about the treatment costs, it also covers collections, transportations, and also the final disposal. The cost can range from about USD 35 per ton in the low-income country to up to USD 100 per ton in the higher income countries. This is because about half of these costs are caused by the labor and transportation costs. However, if we look at the user fees, meaning how much of consumer or household have to pay to cover this cost, it is only about 35 to 170 USD per year for low income and or high income countries respectively. This is because most of the cost is still subsidized by the government, or in other words, actually taxpayers are paying this cost. Towards zero waste, how realistic is this goal? If we look at how waste can be segregated, for example, paper, plastic, e-waste, and we consider it as recyclable or dry waste. These are the waste that can be stored at a specific location, for example, at home or in a residential area for a relatively longer time. However, for food waste, it will demand higher frequency of collections, otherwise it will cause odor emissions and also pest problem. In other words, there's a higher urgency to valorize food waste in a more efficient manner in order to achieve overall efficiency for resource recycling towards zero waste. This is an ideal scenario showing how bio-waste can be recycled to support circular economy. For example, organic waste from the restaurant or food industry could be converted to compost, and the product can be used to fertilize vegetable farm or landscape to further promote the productions of the crop and meat. Similarly, the Organic waste can also be used to generate biogas or animal feed, and this can form a symbiotic network supporting circular economy. Let us first look at how composting can be a viable technology to valorize food waste. In many countries, waste segregation as source is being introduced. For example, in China, mandatory waste segregation was implemented in Shanghai in July 2019. This will involve training and outreach with the citizens to guide them on how to segregate the waste correctly. It is then the segregated waste will then be transferred to the transfer stations before they are pulled and sent to the further treatment center. Ideally, there could be facility such as MRF, material recycling facility, to further segregate those dry waste for recycling purposes. As for the wet waste, such as mainly the food waste, could be further treated, typically through composting and anaerobic digestion. The liquid portion, or we sometimes call it as leachate from composting, and the digested from anaerobic digestion can also be further formulated as a liquid fertilizer. So both the compost and the liquid can be used as a fertilizer to fertilize the agriculture land. Considering the closing the loop solutions, making composting as a more viable technology will require systemic solutions in which it will involve multiple stakeholders to make it to happen. For example, from the top-down exercise, it will rely on the proactive actions by the government and local government, to private sectors on how the value propositions of converting food waste to compost could be invested by the private sectors or corporates. This will also require the behavior change of the bottom-up approach by the community in terms of participations, proper waste segregation, and so on. So in a nutshell, this kind of change management would require good leadership by the academics as well as local central government through focus group discussion to get the consensus in order for the kind of close the loop solution could be implemented. As for way forward, this is the takeaway. We need to understand the source of food waste generations. Hopefully, with the advent of IoT, Internet of Things, this review proposed by Wallace in the year 2017, with the advancement in IoT, the ICT, advanced management, the wish list is that if the waste volume and the location could be identified, this could better advise the treatment technology or allocation for technology selections, whether some of these waste can be channeled for biogas productions or biorefinery or composting. As we know, database management is very crucial to enable mass balance modeling for nutrients recycling, for product quality assurance and formulations, for process integration to optimize energy usage and to calculate the overall economic feasibility. In a nutshell, a lot of social economic impacts research can also be conducted with more comprehensive data collections. IoT can also be very useful to minimize the transportation route for the waste collections and transportations. Due to the high moisture contents in food waste, composting process could reduce the food waste volume up to 80%. And the end products are compost or leachate. Both can serve as organic soil amendment. In order to commercialize this product, it is essential to further characterize the nutrients in this product. This diagram shows a full and large-scale composting plant. Although the food waste may be collected from the restaurant or food industry, this waste stream will still contain a substantial amount of plastic or waste, which will require some mechanical pre-treatment. This waste stream will go through primary screening in order to filter out the oversized refuse, which will be sent to the landfill site. The screened material will be subjected to further composting process. Typically, at the industrial scale, this will take about 1 day. And further, after this process, after the composting, the product will be sent to the cure site. And this typically will take a few weeks to few months depending on the operating conditions, whether the compost are further treated by addition of microbial inoculant or thermal treatment. And finally, the product will still be screened to a more uniform particles. We call it the refined compost for further marketing. Another comprehensive review was conducted by Roy in this paper in year 2018. More research on composting is concerning about how the leachate could be better treated before being discharged to the environment. From the circular economic point of view, this leachate should be better treated to becoming the bioliquid fertilizer, as I mentioned before. However, this will require more stringent segregation at source to ensure the organic waste is not contaminated with heavy metal. I would like to highlight that productions of compost is not just to replace chemical fertilizers. Compost is not just NPK. A part of providing the macronutrient of NPK, compost typically also contain other micronutrients and humic acid, which will improve the physical property of the soil. And importantly, production of compost could offer more other co-benefits such as supporting local food productions and reducing the greenhouse gases at the landfill site. A lot of research has been done to showcase the impact of compost or bioliquids application on soil to improve various property of soil fertility. For example, in terms of physical property or chemical property, and also enrichment of microbial population in soil. Some of the research also reported the role of compost to remediate problematic soil or those which are polluted by heavy metals. As mentioned earlier, that characterizations of nutrient content in compost and bioliquid fertilizers are important to enhance the marketability of the compost product as well as the selling price. This is a field research site we established with a community located in Johor Bahru, involving 30 households who will segregate their food waste on daily basis. However, the food waste will be collected once a week with the design of a compost box equipped with dry leaf and soil to cover the daily food waste. For the past 2 years, we continuously monitor the nutrient content in the food waste, compost, and leachate. These figures nutrient content of NPK reported for leachate and compost in red color were analyzed by our team member. As you can see that there is a large variation of food waste compositions or nutrients as compared to other literature. This is largely due to variations of food waste compositions. This variation also emphasizes the importance of proper segregation of food waste based on different types. For example, if we could better know the percentage of meat or vegetable or different composition of food waste in the compost, we can better understand the nutrient range. Continuous research is needed to better understand this nutrient content in order to facilitate further product formulation. As a conclusions from this presentation, we have highlighted 4 major products that could be produced from food waste valorizations. Of course, our passion is to continuously promoting composting as a promising and viable technology to valorize food waste. And we like to emphasize that compost is not just to replace a chemical fertilizer. It is not just providing NPK to the crop, but it has more other value propositions such as improving soil structures and so on. We also like to emphasize the systemic closed-the-loop solution for food waste composting, ranging from the top-down approach to management of the upstream activities, emphasizing on the public-private partnership to build more large-scale composting facility which are viable. And as a researchers, we should focus more on product characterization, formulation, and quality control, especially in terms of pollutants minimization, such as heavy metal and so on. Equally important to close the loop will be the coordination with the local authority in charge of waste collection to finally application to agriculture land. This is typically can be a challenge because the local authority who in charge of waste collections, the department will be different from those department in charge of agriculture field. So in a nutshell, the role of academicians like us, experts, local government, the consensus building with multiple stakeholders are very crucial in order to enhance the coordination of the supply and demand change management. As for other technologies such as AD, biorefinery to produce biochemicals or biomaterials, we have witnessed, we have seen more than 2 to 3 folds of research publication over the past decades. However, most of these technology are still facing the challenges to address the economic feasibility. This is the conference we run each year in different cities in Asia. This year it was successfully conducted in Johor Bahru, UTM, the 7th International Conference on Low Carbon Asia and Beyond, with the theme Circular Economy Towards Sustainable Development. It was organized in and for this year we are able to secure 3 special issues, two journals, JERMA, Journal of Environmental Management and Energy, the Q1 journal, and also Chemical Engineering Transactions, the Scopus journal. We would like to cordially invite you to support the next series. Hopefully it will be conducted in Okayama, Japan. In the past, this conference has been successfully organized in Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, and Shanghai. Towards zero waste, leaving no one behind. We understand the complexity and challenges to close the loop for converting food waste to value-added products such as compost. Over the years, since 2017, through the UTM Green DNA Student Society, we have outreach a group of students to support a range of activity to realize this goal. From supporting the community composting plant in Johor to food waste composting demonstration in school, we continuously educate the public about the needs and urgency demand to segregate the food waste at source correctly and effectively, where the community can either compost at home, or they could also send the food waste to a community composting plant such as the one in Johor. Also, through the collaboration with UTM Low Carbon Asia Research Center, we have the opportunity to engage with local authority from Johor to Kuala Lumpur through FGD focus group discussion in order to enhance the consensus building and engage with multiple stakeholders. We hope that corporate and private sector who are interested in closing this loop could continue to communicate with us so that this goal can be realized. So please like us in Facebook. Most of this activity are also conducted in collaboration with UTM Low Carbon Asia. Every year we run, as I mentioned, the Low Carbon Conference, summer school on green programs. And I like to end this slide with this famous Native American proverb. Hopefully each of us will play our role towards zero waste.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Xu Tinley, for this very captivating presentation. And we really appreciate you for innovating a means so that we use another option in case of internet challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the first keynote address from Professor after our guest speaker, Professor Abdullahi Bala. And moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, is the citation of Professor, which is our second keynote address in this August conference, ICSESS, organized by ICSESS Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce our second keynote speaker. It's not any other person but Associate Professor Nur Hazalina bint Hashim, who is, of course, a Malaysian from the Department of Business Administration, Azman Hashim International Business School, University of Technology in Malaysia. She had her own PhD at the University of Western Australia in Australia. She has a Master of Management Technology, University of Technology in Malaysia. And in 1998, she has Bachelor of Business Administration Marketing, International Islamic University, Malaysia. She had been honored with the following honors: Excellent Service Award, School of Graduate Studies, University of Technology, Malaysia. She was also honored as Leadership Award, School of Graduate Studies, University of Technology, Malaysia. Award of Appreciation of being an active global academic panel in the Global Online Marketing Challenge, Google 2013. Recipient of highly commended paper of 2013 by Emerald Publisher for paper titled Person, Religiosity, Guilt and Materialism on Consumer Ethics, co-author with Abubakar Ali R, published in Journal of Islamic Marketing. Excellent Service Award, University Technology Malaysia. In 2010, Excellent Service Award, again, Faculty of Management, University Technology Malaysia. Excellent Teaching Award, Faculty of Management, University Technology Malaysia. Excellent Service Award, University Technology Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker today, her professional membership include Institute of Management Malaysia, Institute of Marketing Malaysia, International Federation of Information Technology and Tourism, Asia Pacific Tourism, and administrative experience. She was head of marketing, head of program of Bachelor of Management Marketing. That was 2011 and 2012. In 2015, she was head of Business Administration Management, academic manager, Research and Scholarship, School of Graduate Studies, Deputy Dean, Research and Scholarship, School of Graduate Studies, Associate Professor, Associate Chair, Professional and System Development, School of Graduate Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Professor Nur Hazalina bint Hashim with this brief citation. To know more about her, go to Google Scholar. You will know more about who Professor Nur Hazalina bint Hashim is. May I now invite Professor, Associate Professor Dr. Nur Hazalina Hashim for her own presentation. Future of research, the scenario for the next decade. Professor. Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning here in Malaysia. If I may share my screen, is that possible, Abdullah and Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the kind introduction. It was quite an overwhelming one, actually. Anyway, thank you for the introductions. I'm given 20 minutes to share on the topic that I've chosen here. Today, I will be sharing with you some informations because I guess most of you would be the postgraduate students or researcher in Nigeria or in UTM as well. As the Dean of Graduate Studies, I think my job scope not only centers in managing the postgraduate students, we also looked into the directions of where research will take place, and that direction should be used as one of the way to assist our students and our program development. So for today, I'll be talking about the future of research, the scenario that has been identified for the next decade. These are informations that I gathered from multiple sources, which I will put at the reference at the second last slide. So yeah, first of all, I think changes in the last decades, and particularly in the field of science, technology, and not to mention medicines, with the recent pandemic in COVID-19, is rapid and profound, right? It covers very broad, not only broad but revolutionary changes. You can see advances in technology, in research. There is changes in the way fundings is channeled, and the expected of fundings in research is laid out. We also see some very major political uncertainty and changes. There is a shift in the population as well as other societal challenge, and this not only happens at particular country or district, but it's happening at a global scale. So when it is a global scales, when you combine all right, it basically transform many ways. And we as a researcher also face these changes, right? It gives us a scenario to transform how research is information is created and exchanged. So at my last sentence here in my slide here, I state here to transform on how research information is created and exchanged. So that gives you a hint about what I'll be focusing today. Not only on how research funding is channeled, but I'll be focusing more specifically on how research information is currently exchanged and how will be in future, and how is it created now, and what will happen in future in terms of information dissemination in research. In a simpler word, it means probably for a student or a researcher is our publications KPI. Right. There are three big scenarios that has been said to affect the future research scenario. The first scenario that has a great impact is what we call the brave open. Now I'll go one by one onto this scenario. And the second is the tech titans. And finally is the scenario where we have, where I call Eastern Ascendants. Right. So let's go one by one. So what is brave scenario, right? Traditionally, we have funders or any philanthropic organizations that basically give their money or pump their money for research purposes. Okay, so what will happen in the future, and what many organizations, particularly publications organizations and publishers like ScienceDirect, Elsevier, Taylor Francis, see that there is a tendency for these funders and philanthropic organizations to make it mandatory or highly encouraged to their research funding to be published as soon as possible. And one of the preferred way is using open access. Well, currently we have, there are two, which is two outlets of publication. The first is open access, and then the second one is through subscription of journal via a respective institution. Now, what we see and what we foresee will happen in the future is that most of the funders would be competing to get their research findings released and being promotion as soon as possible. And you can't do this, right, with the traditional subscription-based journal, because there are certain period where you have to wait, and then the process might take years. But as a funders, they want to be on the headlines as soon as possible. So an options that some of the publisher, including Elsevier and many others, has opted into this is to open their journal into an open access category. right? And with this open access, they have categorized whether you want to have an gold open access or you want to go for a green open access. So what's the difference, right? The gold open access usually will charge you some article publications, publishing charges, right? The APC. And then usually that the owner are not bound by republishing or copyrights on it. So, but there is another one which is a green open access journal where there is no publishing charges, but there is certain embargo, and usually the manuscript that is being published is not the final version, which means that it still undergoes certain typesetting or proof editing and so on. Is it possible to do this? Yes, it's possible. It's slowly happening. Why I say slowly, because there is still misalignment between how the researcher's performance, the KPIs of researcher, is measured at their workplace, particularly the university, and with the funders or the organization's aim. So. Well, there are researchers who's now started to publish in open access just to fulfill the funders and the organization, the funders KPIs, but that is not viewed as something preferable by many of the researcher. That happens when we try to link the concept of open access with the predatory journal. When it comes to predatory journal, then there is probably where the negative connotation about open access comes in. But in most cases of open access for reputable and well-known publisher, it still undergo the same peer review process. It's only that the process of producing the articles is slightly faster, right, compared to the traditional subscription-based journal. Right. And we can see the rapid development of AI and technology means that these various research findings shared in platform is flourishing. I'm sure as a postgraduate student or a researcher, you have heard about the platforms called Skyfi, right? Where you can get almost anything, right? Almost anything of published informations available for free on this website. Well, you just have to do some codings and change your password perhaps daily. But this platform is allowing students, all right, to get access to papers that their library, the university's library are not subscribing to, right? So this is what we mean that the publisher is now would have to compete with these platforms, these free, interoperable, peer-to-peer networks and websites with their subscriptions and also open access platform. So there is a huge competition is actually happening now. And also my last point here, I would say that another scenario that we would face as a researcher for the next decade is that traditionally researchers are well known to publish 17 to 18 pages of articles to report their research findings. We see that there will be a new trend in the future where we call a bite-sized publication or a dynamic series of short article would be the way of sharing information. This means that journals would also have challenges because they would have to change the format of their articles, or even encourage more of what we call short research note in the journal. So this would be some big change. Right? But this is what we call the brave opens, meaning that the outlet for sharing informations are not only limited to classical journal publications format. So the timeline that I've shown here is what I foresee, and also which I collected from several readings. Okay, so what I see in future, and it's already happening, maybe 1/3, right, of research articles are now published in the gold open access journal, particularly in Europe. right? Because they want to get the research findings out and fast, so that they can do patent, they can protect their copyrights and so on, particularly in medicine. And then we probably have the 3/4 of the research published in green open access. So meaning these are probably the developing countries, like more of the China and US, China and India. But US is still opting for a green research, green open access. Most of US universities. This means that they, by green open access, means there is no paying for article publication or article processing fees, and it will give some embargo time before the full article is being released, right? And then we have the way, the focus of the research will tend to focus more on medicines, particularly those related to the COVID-19 flu and the pandemic. And like I said just now, the AI, the technology of AI and data mining will allow various repository to consolidate, right, to share various things, articles, coding, data, methods, and also the preprints. Now we have the Sky-Fi, which I think I know it's probably unethical to say it's wonderful, but I think for a lot of PhD students and research students, these are wonderful platforms, because you could get almost everything in this platform, right? Article that you will not be able to access, and if you go to the library asking for an interlibrary loan, you would have to pay, right? Whereas you can download by free here. So in future, you will be seeing more of these various repository consolidate or consortium that consolidates all these informations for research purposes. And we'll have in future, we foresee to have tech company in partnership with universities and funders, okay, to work in a new online workflow and to be involved directly in the research. Okay, and we can see that there will be more emphasis on research published with using raw data, right? Which means that probably in some area you would have to cross or to meet the international requirements when it comes to patents, codes, or data. And as an organizations, if you're working in organizations, you should have to put your thought earlier that the way forward is to have data analytics and artificial intelligence, basically to maximize the value of data that you gathered from research. Okay, so that's the first trend. The second trend that I would like to share with all of you today is related to the what I call the tech titans. As the name goes, it's probably related to the first one as well. This will be talking about the advance in machine learning and the sophistications of artificial intelligence product to drive innovations, right? We already have artificial intelligence at the moment, but I think the focus now is to increase more on the efficiency of the machine learning scripting, right? So that would produce a more accurate analysis by this machine learning and artificial intelligence products. This technology has led to large technology and data analytics company becoming the curator. They curate, because when you want to do analytics, you need to have the data. So curations of data is important. And also later on, with this whole big data, we are talking now about the importance of database or websites or repository that helps people to get access into this data. So it's a distributions of knowledge. And we will see in future the research publication, like I mentioned, will be increasingly itemized, which means that it will be in more bite-sized, discrete units. A specific paper that talks specifically on method, a specific paper that talks particularly on data or coding or preliminary text. Unlike what we have today, where you have to come up with a 70-page and you talk from the introductions to the methodology. Because the idea is we want to get the information distributed fast. Now, if the core of your research, the strength of your research is in the methodology, then there will be a specific paper. That particular paper is just talking about the methods. So that will be the future. And then we have online repository. And what is interesting, I think, from one of the reading, I see Publisher will soon partner with big companies to create what they call AI-based peer review evaluations, right? How would they do that? It is powered by what we call the natural language processing, or NLP, which validates the research output without any human involvement. One of the problems when it comes to publishing papers in traditional methods is to get reviewer to review your papers, and the amount of time that some of the reviewer takes to review the paper. But we can't put blames 100% to the reviewer, because they are not paid to review. It's a voluntary work. So when it comes to voluntary, whenever there is more important things, then your paper sets aside. So that would take time for some papers to be accepted, right? And if a reviewer rejects the paper, it will go through the whole cycle. So in future, with the advancement of AI and natural language processing, it hopes that this human involvement via peer review could be shortened by having this technology to take place, or to perhaps to facilitate this process. Now, what I see with the tech titans, with AI, with data analytics and data mining, there would be few research areas that will come in, and they would be leading into a specific niche area. First is the autonomous car, right? Not only the autonomous car, we already have the autonomous car. We are talking about the efficiency of it, like meeting the highway standards, making it more intelligent, right? And then in terms of the research fundings, we understand in the Europe, with the exit of following the Brexit, we will having a recession and reductions of the public fundings there. Therefore, we would see that most of the European countries will be in terms of the research funding will start to plateau, but then perhaps focusing on significance or important area. We will see the changes more in terms of how we control the air traffics, right? Not 100% using human as what we have now. It's probably going to be peer reviewed by AI, right? And that would makes the system more secure, perhaps, right? Their targets, and it will still require humans, but to confirm things. And then we have bankings, where they would need this blockchain technology as well as cybersecurity field when it comes to bankings becoming conglomerates and so on. There is also an increase in research here, where changes in workflow, right? And AI in terms of medicines, in the medical field, they probably have AI-enabled research in personalized medical survival rate for things like cancers and so on. All right. The third scenario that I foresee to change is the Eastern ascendants, where I would see, like I mentioned earlier, with the Brexit, we can see that the fundings in the Euro has started to plateau, and they probably focus on a very niche and specific area. But what is happening is we have a growing scenario in our eastern part, which is led by China. Okay, they have a very high desire in transforming their economy into a knowledge base, and which with a very heavy funding for public investment in terms of research and development, right? And we can see that by statistics, China actually has a higher level of R&D fundings compared to other Western and also the European country, right? In China, the what we say, the trend of publishing in open access journal is probably not widely accepted, particularly the goal of open access journal. But the green one is starting to be accepted by most of the funders. So that's one of the trend that we see, and we can see this is what we see from this aspect. The first one that we can start to see the shift, right, from Europe to US to the Eastern countries, right, where we have, of course, it will lead by China, And then we can see that there is a surge of numbers of students from emerging countries, particularly in Asia, and Asian university introducing adaptive distance learning. So we have like different modules like remote supervisions or online distance learnings. The reason is to tap this growing market. And then we have probably issues relating to more university is trying to shift their focus from focusing on very specific or theoretical subject to a more practical courses that meet the industry need. We can also see one of the trend that will happen in the future, a flow of research talent from the West going to the East, right? We have the Westerners working now in China as researcher, for example. And then China is also now progressing very well in their research related to Mars explorations, which is probably or interplanetary travel. So we can say that in a few papers that I've read, their efforts and initiatives have surpassed the efforts and initiatives led by the European and even the US. And we can see perhaps in the future where the Chinese institutes or the Chinese university will start to dominate the top world ranking universities ranking. So in conclusion, we can see from the three trends, there will be some probably we have heard about it, but it will become normal in the next 10 years. So it will take place, right, in 10 years in terms of some of the changes that we can see is in terms of the new funding models. So not only that we want to see papers being the output of a research, but we want to see commercializations, right? And then we have new methods of, we will focus on new methods and new methods adopting collaborations approach, right? New ways of conceptualizing research. So research should come from problems that we have in society, right? And how we as a researcher contribute back to solving the society's problem. And we also would have a different measure on how to measure our research impact. And finally is we can see that future research will be research that is driven by advancement in technology as well as other new generations technologies. So these are some of the reference that I use for today's presentations. You are most welcome to, these are what I get from the internet. I'm sure there's no problem for you to go and to read once again from this reference. So thank you very much to Abdullah and the committee for inviting me today. That's my sharing session for today. Back to the organizing committee.
Thank you so much, Professor Hazarina, Associate Professor Nur Hazarina bint Hashim, for this captivating presentation, trying to capture the future before it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is ICSESS 2021, the 4th International Conference on Science, Engineering and Social Sciences, organized by the Giant Society, International Student Society, Nigeria, UTM chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for this year is promoting multidisciplinary and innovative research in the new normal. So far, we have taken 3 very futuristic, very pragmatic presentation right from our guest speaker, Professor Abdullahi Bala, down to Professor Chun Tin Lee, and now Associate Professor Nur Hazarina Hashim with her own keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the end until it is the end. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just an opening ceremony. If all the intellectual cream that we have gotten now has really impacted us, what more of preliminary sessions, which is coming up from all over the globe, particularly those that have submitted their papers will present their own ideas. We are talking about new normal, ladies and gentlemen. The future is now. We have to work towards it. And the giant and fabulous team led by Abdullah Tanko Muhammad, ICSESS Nigeria, have hit the nail on the head. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to invite for the vote of thanks, because we've been here from 8 o'clock up to this moment. We need to break and we come back for the intellectual battle. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to invite Abdullahi Tanku Muhammad, our president, ICSESS Nigeria, for vote of thanks. And after which we invite and recognize the presence of Professor Niza for her own comment and declaration of the conference open. Thank you. The President.
Thank you very much, Ustaz Abdul Mumin Inda, the Master of Ceremony of today's program. Thank you, thank you. The Vice Chancellor, University Technology Malaysia, Professor Dr. Ahmad Fauzi Ismail Ahmad, ably represented by the DVC Academics and International, Professor Hishamuddin Mohammed. The Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Technology, Mina, Nigeria, Professor Abdullahi Bala, who was our guest speaker in today's program. The conference chair, Professor Qasim Abdul Jalil, our keynote speakers, management and staff of UTM that join us today, the organizing committee members of 2021 ICSESS, students, ladies and gentlemen. I'm highly elated and thank Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to witness the opening ceremony of ICSESS 2021. I'm sure from the experiences we have had with the COVID-19, with the lockdowns, movement restrictions, as how it affects our academic activities in UTM, and I believe in other institutions, you will agree with me that the theme of this conference was well chosen. To further educate us as we tend to live with these challenges for some time. Thank you so much, the guest speaker, Professor Abdullahi Bala, for educating us on the new normal. Your presentation was very insightful. Also, I would want to appreciate and thank Professor Lee and Professor Noor Hazarina. We are most grateful for your excellent presentations. If I may borrow from the Ethiopian proverb that says, where a woman rules, streams runs uphill. You are such a wonderful woman, and we thank you for your excellent presentation. On behalf of ICSESS Nigeria, executive and members who are the organizers of this ICSESS conference, we sincerely thank and appreciate the Vice Chancellor, University Technology Malaysia, Professor Ahmad Fauzi Ismail, and his able management team for providing us with the enabling environment for this academic program to be presented to you. We sincerely appreciate and thank the conference chair, Professor Qasim Abdul Jalil, for all that you have done to ensure that this program is successful. We cannot thank our VIPs enough, the guest speaker and the keynote speakers, for doing everything possible to ensure that this program is successful. The Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Technology, Mina, kept awake through the night to ensure that he is present at this event to do the needful. Thank you so much, Prof. We thank each and every member of staff and students of UTM that contributed to the success of this program. We want to say that as the program commences proper, this is just an opening ceremony. A lot of benefits will be derived from the noble knowledge that will be shared in this conference. So once again, we thank everybody for finding time to join us in this program, and we hope that you will have a cause to thank Almighty God and to thank the organizers for organizing such a wonderful program. Lastly, I want to especially thank UTM International for being with us, for collaborating and supervising all our activities to ensure that our activities is excellent, to ensure that our activities is successful. Thank you so much, Prof. Arifin. Thank you so much, Manager SE, Madam Faiza. Thank you so much, Mr. Kiri. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much. And by the special grace of God, the technical session will commence very shortly, and we employ all presenters to join through the link that will be provided. Thank you all, and I implore you to continue to support ICSESS Nigeria as we continue to bring you educative programs that will impact on our various lives positively. Thank you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much. That has been presentation of vote of thanks from the President, ICSESS Nigeria. It is often said, a leader is he who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. John Maxwell. President ATM, Abdullahi Tanko Muhammad, you have really shown us your capability of knowing the way and going the way, and indeed showing the way. Keep it up. You and your unformidable team, I believe you cannot do without them. Thank you so much. This program wouldn't have been successful without the collective effort of this team. We thank you most sincerely. And at this point in time, as has been announced by the President, this is just an opening ceremony. The technical session is coming up from 12 to 1 and 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 2 to 3, up to 5. Then we have day 2, which will be tomorrow on the 30th, 11, and never be left behind, because it is a bonanza time for sharing of intellectual ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished, may I have the honor and privilege to invite Professor Niza Samin for her blessing, because if we have one word to describe Prof, she's just hospitable, motherly, especially the internationals. Prof. Niza.
And to declare the conference open.
Okay. And to declare the conference, let me add, officially open. Thank you. Yes. The Zoom awaits Prof. Niza. Is she there?
Probably she's absent, probably.
Okay. So I believe even if she's not here, her spirit is telling us she wishes us good. She has a very good message for us, and her blessings indeed is part of this program. And ladies and gentlemen, if you can recall, the representative of the Vice Chancellor, University Technology Malaysia, has made his own opening address, and this indeed has symbolized that the fourth international conference, ICSESS, is officially open, and we want to thank you most sincerely for being patient from the beginning of this opening ceremony up to this point. And shall we, in one way or the other, found wanting, please, we sincerely apologize, and we improve to do more so that we give you the best we have. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to say that thank you most sincerely to the organizers for finding me worthy to be master of ceremony in the fourth international conference organized by ICSESS Nigeria under full supervision of UTM International. Thank you, and we await to see you in the plenary and technical sessions. Do not miss it. Mr. President, dear organizers, we draw the curtain at this moment for break until we come back at 12.
Before then, Abdul Inda is the chairman of is the conference chair still with us?
Oh, Professor Dr. Basim. He has given his own opinion. I don't know if he's here. I believe his own comment as closing remark can also help.
Please, can you always take group post photo passport and picture in every section?
Okay. Thank you for the advice. Okay, President, I think he's not here. We should just go ahead for the snapshot. Open your videos so that you capture this very important moment in our life and history. Thank you, Professor Tune, for being with us up to this moment. It has been an honor, inshallah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anasa Ndagi. Dr. Ravi. Yeah.
Thank you.
We believe now in Nigeria is very early morning, so some of them might be sleeping by now.
And of course, in fact, almost all, I would rather say, because the participant is not much compared to, had it been, so Alhamdulillah.
It's okay, it's okay.
Oh, it's okay. Very successful. We have succeeded for this moment. And we pray the others too will follow us such.
So, Secretary.
All right. Okay, sir. All right.
Do what you want.
We're going to take two pictures. One just a official picture, and another one we put a more smile to our face. All right. So after the count of 3, I snap. 1, 2, 3. All right. The second one, put a more smile to your face.
But can we open our videos, please? I can see Musa Chindo Ahmad. Please, we want to capture those beautiful faces. Zuhaib, thank you so much. I can see someone say personal. Can you personally open your video also? Yeah. Yeah. So,
hello.
Secretary, continue.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Secretary, I think this should always prelude the commencement of picture, always. Allow people to, inform people to mute their video.
Okay.
Always. Before starting the process of taking pictures.
Okay.
Noted. Thank you. Secretary, continue. Yeah.
All right. After the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have another page, the second page.
President, open your video.
Can we smile? 1, 2, 3. The second page, many people didn't open their videos. Please, you can open. Another one. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice sleep.
Please,
especially our appreciation to and that guy, you have really tried. May Allah reward you for.
I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Please, the attendance.
Okay, bye-bye.